Hello and welcome to the SC Playbook podcast, proudly brought to you by Pat and George from Mortgage Choice SCW. I am your host, Tim Williams. We're here for NRL Round 25. We have preliminary finals, the grand final qualifier for most head-to-head leagues out there. Check your league settings. We've also got 3 weeks until the new Supercoach champion overall is crowned. Last week, the talking point, unbelievable. 5 captains, 5 gun matchups. Cleary, Nico, SJ, KP, Latrell, not one of them scored over 81 points. For the potentially one bloke out there who had Drew Hutchinson skipping him 130 points, masterclass. Some might have had Dean Mariner, 132 points. I would think unlikely, but you can deliberate all you want. It didn't matter in the end. Here to chat through round 25 with me is, as always, the SC Spy. Spy, how are you, mate?
Good to be back, mate.
And what
Good to be
is
back.
that kit?
Before I give you a life update, because it's been a while, I'll show off the kit. It's actually... So I've been looking for a Warriors jersey for probably about 10, 12 weeks now. They're sold out nationwide. Not shockingly, I've been to Peter Wynn's, every Rebel spot ever. I've made phone calls. I cannot find one. Thankfully, our next guest has brought me one.
Have a go at
What size is this?
If you're listening right now on Spotify, Apple, whatever, jump on and have a look at the Spy's little dad bod poking out of a size 7 Wars jersey. It's terrific viewing. I'm sure to be out on our socials at some point this week.
I don't know about poking out, but what size is this, Clem?
And that is a size 14 youth top, and it fits you so perfectly. I wish you didn't put the top underneath it, though. It would have been a beautiful crop.
Anyway, it should be a good pod if I am wearing a New Zealand Warriors jersey. Now, there's a bit of a backstory to who I sort of support in rugby league. People try to get out of me. I'm not a diehard Warrior or a Tiger, is the brief it. I used to be a big St George fan as a kid. Now, there's a big background story to that for another day, so I don't want to tell it, but...
It's controversial.
I can tell you one thing.
It's controversial, but the people will understand the day that it comes out.
It's very unique. I'm not someone who's a change teams
not a
type
turncoat
guy. Not at all, but you'll get it when it eventually comes out. But in terms of SJ, it's been a long love affair with, and I can't believe how good they're going. I'm riding it while it's hot and really, really enjoying it. So I pencil in every Warriors game, get a few tinnies ready, and we're ready to go. Anyway, I could talk about this for an hour. How did I go last week? Before I move on to our next guest, I did play someone again on my bench for the second time in 3 weeks. It's Connolly Lemuelu.
It's been a tough season.
I didn't even see the start of the game because obviously the Matildas are on, so I put it on after. I'm like, beautiful, he made an early line break. He was about 35 in 20 minutes. I'm like, he's back, repaying the faith. I went to get a beer and I heard he's coming off with the HIA. I'm like, are you joking? And he never came back, so I fast-forwarded the end of the game because I blew up. But I ended up with 1,200. I'm sitting about 9,000, nearly in the 8K range, and I'm 21 points in front of someone who you might introduce next.
Our next guest on the podcast, look, I'd say guest, but look, she's been an SC Playbook regular for a pretty long time, but the issue is that she does live in a different state for now. I believe making a move down south at some stage soon. It is 2021 6th placed finisher, the lovely Clementine Cassidy. Clem, good to have you back.
Good to be on here. Thank you so much for having me back. Spy's looking lovely in his top. Gorgeous
very
stuff.
tough.
Thank you.
In his jersey. But yeah, good to be back in Sydney. I really love it here. So yeah, I am making a move from Goldie down to Sydney. So I'll be back and forth a bit, and hopefully we'll make the last couple of pods, which will be awesome. But as far as my team goes in my round last week, I scored a 1263. So I've moved up a couple of 100 points. So I'm 9,200th. Top 9,000 if I use your logic.
Yes, great logic that should be used by all.
But most importantly, I clawed 60 points back from Spy's lead. So he's only 29 points ahead of me now. And Spy, I'll serve your ass like John McEnroe. 4 trades left. I'm coming for you, bro.
Righto, bro.
I'm backing Clem by a margin.
There's 2 things that have happened here.
Tough talk.
Four trades left.
One, you've spent the year bagging me, telling me how you always beat me. So let's see, pressure on. I know you don't like pressure. 2, last time you were here, I'm pretty sure you're well in front of me. So that shows you towards the business and what's going on. And 3, I actually don't remember what I was going to say. So carry on.
But did you make a clever rhyme?
A rhyme?
Yeah.
No.
I should get bonus points for that.
It's about focus. Oh. You worry about your fun and games. I worry about the W's.
He's a switched-on man, the Spy, and he does mean business on this run home. And after hounding him about his trade situational season, you have managed to bank a few with, I think you got 3 left, Spy.
3 up the sleeve, yeah. Actually, just quickly, my wife had a baby 3 weeks ago. I wasn't sure if that was bigger news than Connolly going down.
I was going to introduce you with it, and then it just got lost in all the tired SJ jersey.
Yeah, I don't know which is bigger news, the Warriors or my new kid, but I love them both.
Good stuff, mate. You're a busy man. The Kumis Stallions, 1,287 points last week. So another nice round, a green tick up into 4,895th overall. So we're making a charge. We're getting there. On that logic, Clem, top 4,000, I believe. I'm into the 4,000s. That's how we describe it. So on a move, still on that charge, hopefully to the top 1%. Top 1,500 it'll be. So 3 big weeks required to do so, though. So heading in the right direction. Guys, today's show, the key takes from Team List Tuesday, our topic for the week. We're basically going to look at our plan for our final trades, because it is pretty strategic, particularly from an overall perspective. The potential round 27 restings just to take into consideration for your team, especially when you're looking at depth and how you might be placed. The hot topics: do we pay out for Tino for Malawi, a ton on return for the Titans, cutting ties with J'maine Hopgood, a few people out there looking at doing that. We're going to drop a super pod play at tiny ownership for the run home, drop our round 25 trade and skipper plans and listener questions. Guys, the unlimited SC Playbook group, $1,000 up for grabs to the winner of that. Raging poll, Bobby into second overall, our boy. We're riding you home,
Come on,
mate.
son.
Equally, if anyone else in that group makes a charge, there's a few in the top 10, so we're rooting you all home. So let's go, Bobby. Guys and girls, Team List Tuesday. Charnze Nicoll-Klokstad. You are a Warriors gal, Clem. Charnze is back. This one, I'll be honest, it surprised me a little bit just because he'd had 3 concussions this season. I thought with where the Warriors were on the ladder that they probably had an opportunity. Not an opportunity, I thought they would have rested him another week. Now, obviously starts to take the field this week, barring any late changes. Great news to see Charnze back, and for anyone who held him as it stands.
Oh my God, I was so excited to see Charnze back that I didn't read any of the other Team List Tuesday. I literally saw that. There was tears of joy running down my face.
Because it would have been the first name on the entire list.
Oh my God. I opened up my phone and I was just like, this is the best moment of my whole life, maybe. It was so good.
Is that what happened to your makeup, the tears?
Yeah.
No, I'm joking. It's all right. It's all right.
So you handled the Hines out, news being all right?
Oh my God, I missed that.
I'm kidding.
But you know what? Charnze is back.
Doesn't matter.
But yeah, good for my team as well. Definitely good for playing against Spy with Charnze in my team. Pretty excited about that.
Yeah, it is. That's fair.
Spy, another bloke that's good for you. Someone we'll have plenty of conversation once again about this week. He's been very relevant for a few weeks, and fortunately for me as a non-owner, hasn't gone that well. But Dallin Wateni's a Lesniak. They've just got such a great combination out the back there. It has to be good.
Massive. SJ to Charnze to DWZ. It's chemistry at its finest, I believe.
Happy days.
J'maine Hopgood named on the edge for the Parramatta Eels. Now, Andrew Davey is out for the Eels this week with another concussion. Speaking of blokes who have had a bit of a tough run with head knocks, I really thought Ryan Madison would be named on the edge. He's been named on the bench once again. It makes him a real questionable play for owners, Spy. I suspect still that Madison will start on the edge because Hopgood on the edge is weird. However, as the team's been named, what's your thoughts there?
It is weird. But, I mean, they might just think they need to try something a little bit different. They're not going great. Yeah. Maybe it's a little mix-up play. Maybe it's about giving Hopgood maybe a little bit of time out of the middle because he's been a busy man this year. I don't know. The only thing worth noting is, and we'll get into it at some stage soon, no doubt, but they've got that into Penrith next week into the bye. Certainly creates some question marks, doesn't it? Luckily they play Friday night, so we'll know early where he's actually starting the game.
It does. Now, look, we'll get through. There's a couple of big ones to come as well. Valence Tafade has been dropped by the Titans. He's on the extended bench. Mass Dolphins changes in that side. Blokes out everywhere, the poor buggers. So might be a bit of a limp home for them. In a week where, for J'maine Hopgood, had a great matchup against the Tigers, but all of a sudden, not as appealing as it once was. At the Titans. Now, this is another really interesting one, Spy. Kieran Foran has been left out of the team. He was injured last weekend. What they've done is they've gone with Jaden Campbell into the halves. AJ Brimson is named on the extended bench as he fights to come back from injury. Keanu Keeney has been named at fullback, the rookie. Now, look, my suspicion is they'll really want AJ Brimson to come back. Firstly, Tommy Weaver named at halfback, Australian schoolboys ex-halfback. Excited to see him have a run and how he goes this week. From a Supercoach standpoint, with Penrith going at this side, if they run out with that spine, there's just mass opportunities for Toto, Cleary, the edge back rowers, Sorensen, all of them.
Could be carnage.
I think, I don't know what Brimson's fitness is and maybe they're forced into this, but I'll suspect Brimson comes in at 5'8" and Campbell goes to fullback, but if Brimson's not fit, this could be the team.
He just might not be able to play, that's it. I agree with you. You've got to get Brimson in that front line defensively against that Penrith right edge. Little Presto, as I like to call him. How good is he? So exciting.
So good at fullback.
Campbell back to fullback.
I'd love to be running at him. Maybe not me. I'd love for one of my Supercoach players to be running at him.
Yeah, but when I say that, that's at fullback. There's obviously, I don't know if I want to call it question marks at 5'8", but in the front line there, he's tiny. So if you're running Cleary and Liam Martin at him, goodness me.
Get a bit more info on if they do line up that way, who would likely be on which edge, because I don't know, obviously, with Tommy Weaver on debut, but hopefully that's information. There'll be pictures out of the Titans' Twitter about who's on
either way, if it's young bloke,
either way,
Tom, like, they're just, wow. Nice they're easing in Tom Weaver to his career. It's
yeah. Tom Weaver's gone, thanks, debut against
boys.
the Panthers. Sweet. Now, no Isaac Tungo still for the Panthers. Tyrone Peachey comes back from suspension at centre. Zach Lomax returns for the Dragons. Jackson Hastings has been named despite that ankle injury last week. Still in doubt though, but I do think just good for that entire team if Hastings is there. Supercoach standpoint, Kalen Pong and Greg Margie on that left edge, all of them. Bradman Best also on that left edge returns.
I think just on that, good for them is an understatement.
Yeah.
Hastings, he has this ability to just get a team around the park, get everyone in the positions they need to be, getting the ball they want, and he doesn't have to do anything else. He just sort of waddles around, does his own thing, throws the odd dummy, and just puts blokes in space. He's so good at it. So it's going to really test.
Well,
if he's out, Ponga,
yeah,
big question mark.
Look
Not question mark.
Look at last week's
different.
example against the Bulldogs and watching like a hawk as someone who didn't captain Kalen Ponga when the other four big captains had failed. It ended up being about 80% captaincy on Ponga, which, I'll be honest, it surprised me a little bit that it was such a substantial margin amongst the top-ranked teams. And just when Hastings went off about 20-odd minutes in and we saw the impact it had, I think Marju had 20 runs, but none of them were in good attacking territory. Ponga sort of phased out a little bit, so
he's critical to
for
him.
both of those guys. Yeah, big in for him having been named there. I said Bradman Best is back at the Rabbitohs. Tavita Totola Harms Sele named on the extended bench. Ty Munro, 18th man again. This is big with the forwards just because the Bunnies are crying out, I should say, for those Bunnies, their middles to come back into the side. So if they can come into the starting team or even bench come game day, big news for Cody, Latrell, all these sort of blokes. Jacob Preston suspended. Clem, 2 weeks. Still a handful of Preston owners out there. If you've got to trade up your sleeve,
you give him the flick.
Yeah, give him the flick if you hadn't already.
100%. Yeah, if you haven't already, now's the time.
Yep.
You have to. Yeah.
Fumey if you don't have any trades left and you've got Presto there. But, and lucky last. Now, Josh Schuster has been named at 5'8" for Manly. The Telegraph had the scoop this morning that Jake Arthur was going to come into the side in the halves. And Josh Schuster was going to go to an edge, back to the back row. I got told the exact same thing this afternoon, so I would be surprised if they didn't line up that way. Supercoach ramifications, anything there, Spy? Maybe nothing. I mean, I was really keen on the Warriors match up their right edge, SJ, DWZ, Charnze, etc., going up against Manly's left. Schuster just slots one more spot in to the back row anyway, so probably not
too much change anything too dramatically, no.
Now, to get stuck into our topic for the week, and it's a bit of a general conversation for people out there with trades left, what to do with them, where should they be utilised, probably more important than on who, but when. Now, I know I have a pretty clear plan with mine. We're also going to have a chat about the potential restings in round 27, which we will start with. Now, there's plenty head-to-head info to take from this, and we will focus on some head-to-head matchups and a lot of head-to-head specific players throughout the podcast, but this one's a little bit overall on what to do with those trades. So I'll start with you, mate, on your thoughts on sides and players that may get restings in round 27. You've done a bit of a ladder predictor just to see how it might plan out. Now, obviously, this is all just bit of a guessing game, an educated guessing game, of course. What have you come up with?
Yeah, it is. This is basically where I've landed the top 4. What I think you'll find most likely with 5th to like 10th is that they're probably not really in a position to rest players, so we're not going to worry too much about that. But up the top there, you've got Penrith coming first, unsurprisingly. Big rest candidates. There's going to be a decision for Ivan out there in the last game to say, do we want to give him an extra week off, fire him up into finals, or do we want to keep playing and keep the momentum? So we don't really know what's going to happen there.
It is a guessing game. It's hard because I think he would absolutely want to give them rest. I would expect him to give them a rest. The issue is if they're toe-to-toe with the Broncos on level points, they're probably not willing to give up a minor premiership for it, is the issue. So Broncos are on the bye this week, so they'll get their 2. If they get the 2 the following week, they probably won't be in a position. That becomes let's say if they had the minor premiership locked up round 27, I'd be very confident they'd rest. Yep. But we don't know if that'll be the case.
Yeah, so it's a little bit hard to say, but I think what we will say is there's rest candidates for Penrith heading.
And they've got the Cowboys in Penrith round 27, so it's not a case of we can rest a handful and expect to win it like Penrith often do. Cowboys, there's every chance they're playing for top 8, so it'll be Cowboys got a lot to play for. We're likely to have a lot to play for, sorry.
Yeah, that's it. In second, it looks, and as you said, if something goes the way that Brisbane can jump Penrith potentially, they might love that minor premiership, but they just had the bye anyway, so Brisbane in second or first probably doesn't really matter. They're not going to rest, we don't think.
Because of their bye this week, yep. I think I'd be surprised if they rest. Barring people with substantial niggles
genuine injuries, of course. Yeah. The other one is, and it's not a major factor, but they could rest blokes early, but you're not going to get too caught up in that come final round. Warriors and Melbourne Storm vying for 3rd and 4th. We'll actually know by the time Melbourne finish their game on, I think it's the Thursday night, around 27, where the Warriors and Storm finish. But for me, that means Storm are probably more likely to play guys if they're a chance to finish 3rd. Saying that, maybe they're happy to finish 4th and have a crack at Penrith, go to the other side of the draw. Who knows? Bellyache
interesting point, isn't it? Yeah, beat just landing on the other side of the draw.
You get one crack at them, but then you get another crack at them if you go to the grand final. For me,
I think either way, you have to play them twice. So like, a grand final means nothing in the sense of, sweet, you make grand final, whatever, but you still got to play them twice.
Yeah, for sure. What I do think, and again, this is open to speculation, but if Ryan Pappenhausen is returning, for me, I'd want him getting a full 80 minutes with his squad around him, his spine, his forwards. You need some cohesion, don't you? You can't just throw him in with the reserve grade side and then expect him to hit the ground running week 1 finals against very likely Penrith. So for me, I just think maybe Storm don't rest too many. They want to take momentum into the finals. I could be wrong, of course, but that's where I've got it. As for the New Zealand Warriors, I think they're reasonable rest candidates. They had a bye not long ago, though, as well.
It was a few weeks ago, though, and they'll have played 4 or 5 by that point.
Maybe Tohu Harris.
I think Tohu's a huge chance at
maybe
rest.
Charnze with those head knocks.
AFB having played enormous minutes all year.
So they play the Dolphins, who are absolutely depleted.
SJ, like with Touchwood, he's been keeping himself together this year, but like he literally didn't kick half the goals last week. He had a little niggle, tight quad or something. So like, what the hell would you play him?
So it's going to be really interesting. But for me, what comes out of that is Penrith and the New Zealand Warriors are the most likely to rest guys. We don't know what's going to happen, but that's sort of my predictions based on what I've got the ladder finishing.
Yeah, so I pretty similar thoughts to you, mate. And I think the overview of it all, though, is that there's been other years, and last year wasn't one of them, but where there's been sides locked in to be at top 2, 7th and 8th, whatever it might be, whatever the spot is, and there's been pretty clear-cut restings coming. This year, it may not be like that. There might not be a lot of restings.
Yeah, and don't ever underestimate as well, coaches do love momentum into finals. If you have a good win the week leading in, it's almost that gamble of let's just hope no one gets hurt and let's take the momentum. You need a little bit of luck to win a grand final, so We'll
Now,
find out in a few weeks.
on trade, so everyone will be different in the situation, but I do think it was worth looking forward a little bit. And people probably sitting there, hearsay, she said this, could happen, might happen, tinfoil hats. But I think it's important. Now, I said, in my situation, 3 trades. I'm looking at South Sydney on the bye next week.
Yep.
Round 26. I have 5 of their players. I have a couple of nuffs in my team. Things could get slim very quickly. Mm-hmm. I want to save at least 2 trades for that. Hopefully I can get through with 17 to 18 good players, hopefully more, next week and be able to use, say, 1 trade on a Bunnies player out. But if I have to use 2, so be it. And then I just think round 27 with Parramatta on the bye, people own Ryan Madison, J'maine Hopgood, a few others. I've only got Madison at this stage. I won't be buying any para players. So that could be tricky. I'm looking at using 1 to 2 that week. So in a week this week where there are some buys I like, I've also got a strong 17. My CT dub last week, I think every player I had, there were 6 of them. They all scored like 70 or 75 plus or something. Sat Garrick at the start of the week for his 80 and then half my CT dub ended up beating him anyway. So Tyrone Munro was the only one who didn't because he didn't play. That's where I sit at Spy. Clem, you've got 3 trades left. How are you approaching it?
I have 4 trades left. I've hoarded my trades, like a little trade hoarder, just for this moment. But yeah, definitely I think you want to have at least 1 or 2 left for that last round because you don't want to be in the situation where you get to the last round and then you've literally got no trades and you have like 5 players rested. Like imagine a situation where you had like Nathan Cleary and Nico Hines and they've both been rested. Let's just imagine. And
there are a lot of people.
What are you going to do?
Not a lot, but there's a handful of Mitch Moses owners out there. He's gone down. Whoever the halfback you're running with, Mitchy Moses, if he goes down and gets rested or something, you don't have a halfback. Like boom, there's one position gone. The other big position is hooker. Lots of running with Harry Grant and enough. You just mentioned the Storm. Like if Harry Grant gets a rest, who has played big minutes all year, you don't have a hooker. Them two, like things can change quickly.
Yeah, so quickly. So I think that everybody that still has trades left should try and hold at least 1 for that final round. For me, I am making a trade this week. So I do want to get in someone a bit upsidey. So I am going to go with Spy Chat and Spy's Play. I literally just copy him. That's how I'm going to beat him.
You do. Just quick, before you tell us. When we did something like months ago, you said, I'll just copy Spy.
Yeah, you said get in.
And what a shock. You come to Sydney, hanging out with us, and you're within 20 points of me. Shock horror.
Clem, you finished 6th overall, was it 2 years ago?
Yeah, the year I should have bought a lotto
2
ticket.
years ago. You went quite well last year. You need to trust your instinct because
I know.
Because following the Spy hasn't helped you, obviously.
I know, the buyers decimated me.
Yeah, it's a bad year to follow me, just quietly.
But, I'm going to get an Katoa, I think. So I'm the same as you. I have about 500 Bunnies players in my team. Like, I have so many Bunnies players in my team. It's basically like a rabbit warren. Like, I need to get rid of some. So I think I'm going to go Clementine to him. But yeah, I just need to start offloading them. And Katoa just looks like he's got so much upside. The team is looking so good. So yeah, that's going to be my trade this week, I think. I'm also tempted by Dane Gagai. I'm just short of Tifode to Munster. By Jules. It's heartbreaking. Oh my God, I couldn't believe it.
How
I was just
unfortunate for you.
But yeah, definitely I think save some trades.
Devastated.
Save a trade if you can. I sound like a broken record. Although I do have a bit of a funny story. Last year I booked a holiday to Bali a week too early. I got the dates wrong. Like, that's just classic Clem. But anyway, so I went over to Bali and I was about 500 miles up in the air or however much it is. And it was Tuesday. So when I arrived, it was going to be like Teamless Tuesday. I was so excited. I was like, oh my God, I've got a trade left. This is going to be so good. Like the team's going to be decimated and I'll be able to trade. I got to the resort, was relaxing. I think we had like, I don't know what we had, a cocktail by the pool, opened up my phone, got on the Wi-Fi. Literally, I had no players rested whatsoever. So I just had this random trade here and I'm just like, oh my God. So
I did the same.
You're probably listening to some knob on a podcast say that depth is key and there'll be late season restings.
But yeah, no, definitely I think save your trades. Also, that was the trip where I wrote my article in the back of that car.
Yeah, so if anyone that doesn't jump on the SC Playbook website for articles, Clem writing you were captained last year, your weekly wrap with Nick Moon this year of a Monday, and you wrote it where?
So I was in the back of a car. So my friend was determined to get a photo with a fish. So what we didn't know is that this fish photo was like 4 hours away from the resort. We jumped in a car with a stranger called Putu, and it was literally about 150% humidity. We're like careening down these roads to get a photo with a fish, and I literally sat in the back of that car with my friend's Wi-Fi connected every now and again, writing that article.
Oh my God.
And the photo of the fish is so bad. Nobody hire me as a photographer.
Oh dear.
Commitment to the website. That
Absolute commitment.
Spy, you've got 3 left. Where are you looking at utilising them?
I might talk through a couple of scenarios. Before I do, it's worth noting sides I like for the run home are New Zealand Warriors, Penrith this week in particular, if you need to win, and Melbourne as well. So it's worth noting for head-to-head players. For me personally, with that overall, just trying to obviously edge up as high as I can to end the season and beat a certain someone on my right here. Option 1 is let's call it the Scotty Drinkwater attack mode play. Actually, no, this is the less attack mode one. So next week I can go Connolly Lemuelu, who I suspect may not play again this year. It sort of doesn't make sense.
Yep.
Young bloke knocked out. They got nothing to play for, really. Drop him down to enough, worth bottom dollar, which means I can then go one of my back rowers like Cam Murray on the bye, to Scotty Drinkwater order. Versus
So KP's at fullback at the moment for you?
He's at 5'8". I've got a spare fullback slot.
Oh,
Yeah. Rookie. Why?
fullback spot.
Well, KB's at 5'8".
Key
He's on my
positioning.
bench. He's either 5'8" or fullback. It doesn't matter. Manu would be... I could flip Manu to 5'8" and put KP to fullback. It's still the same side.
Who's your other 5'8"? Munster.
Munster.
Okay.
Yeah. And anyway, back to where I was going. Scotty Drinkwater into fullback next week versus the Finns. They're absolutely decimated. He could have an utter field day. Now, I'm wary he's got Penrith the week after. I'd hope they'd have some restings. But it's just that sort of real attack mode of let's see what we can do next week. I'd probably skipper him. I'd almost definitely skipper him. That's option 1, which leaves me 1 trade up the sleeve for the final round. If Clear is to rest, for example, he'll get Nico Hines in. Like, there's options there.
Yeah.
That's the sort of drinky attack mode, but conservative play. The other option is...
That just on that one, I like the drinky... Sorry, I don't mind the drinky play.
Yep.
The uncertainty around that Penrith matchup is such a dagger. Anyone else, I'd be keen as on Latrell to him next week.
Yep.
But if he comes up against Penrith round 27 playing for a minor premiership, it's like, oh...
Yeah, it's an interesting one, isn't it?
At the expense of, say, Latrell, who will be playing the Roosters or whoever it might be.
Yeah, but remember, I'm selling him.
You've got the spot. That's true.
I'm
It's a bit
selling him
different.
for Connolly, who won't play.
Yeah,
so
okay.
it's a free hit.
That's different
and
for you.
If Penrith are fired up, I can play a back rower like Papali'i instead if I need to, lock in 60. The other play is to have a look at this week and go early on a trade and do either a Cam Murray or Hopgood to Dallin Watene-Zelezniak because their run home's unbelievable. I really want Dallin. Do you have him yet, Clem?
No, I've only got Charnze, but keep talking.
you
That
can't
can change.
Making some notes here.
That will then allow me to go Connolly to enough again next week and someone to drink water. So it's the same play, but it's using my last trade early,
A week. So you'd go into round 27 with no trades.
basically.
Does
But to
that worry
but-
you at
Hey?
all? Does that worry you at all?
Well, it does a little bit,
How
but I
many
also
para
got a
players?
bit of, just one.
Hopgood.
Oh, no, I'd have none if I sell Hopgood.
Okay, that's
So I go to the
that
last
helps,
round
yeah.
with no para. It's a little bit aggressive, but we were talking about before. I feel like this year's been like, you just got to plan a little bit ahead. What's going to happen the week after? And every time I've done it, it's been no benefit. It's just that kind of year.
You can overplan.
Yeah, so maybe it's like the theme of the year is just attack this week and let's see what happens. So I'm considering that. And just on that, what that actually does is adds Dallin to my squad with Drinkwater and I'll lose Cam Murray early who has a bye anyway. So that's pretty good. I'll lose my trade. I'm also very, very close to doing very similar, but I could go Hopgood to Dallin, Alex Johnson early to Eli Katoa this week. Do both. Alex Johnson's got the bye next week. It then leaves me Cam Murray to Drinky, 280k spare. It's going to be within like 20k.
Oh, God.
But I'd miss out on Drinky if it doesn't go my way unless I sold someone else. So I'd love to add Eli Katoa, Zelezniak and Drinkwater for the run home and just attack mode. I just got to figure out if I can risk it or if there's someone else I can sell instead of Cam because I think that's the one I'd like to do. Just have a crack at it.
I'd like you to do that one, and then I'm just going to manifest AJ to like score like 5 tries.
Yeah.
Yep.
I'll do it with you.
Definitely.
So I'm an
Sweet.
owner as well.
Yep. So there you go. So it's basically the ploys there. I'm getting drinky. That's the number one aim for me at this stage. I want to attack that game next week. But it's how hard do you go around? Do I keep one up the sleeve or do I get in Dallin, who I think could go bananas, especially against Saints
I
next
like
week.
Dallin too. CT Dub's just not an area of issue at the moment. I'm conscious of the weeks to come, all the bunnies out. So a bloke I want to get in. I don't have the jewel at CT Dub to quite make it happen, but there are players I could bite the bullet on a little bit. So a few decisions made, but I agree. I think Dallin is a terrific buy this week. A few other matchups to touch on for those head-to-head players out there looking for the better matchups this week. So this isn't necessary for overall in the final 3 weeks, but Penrith Panthers against that entire Titans side with players out, even though Tino is back. The Parramatta Eels, I actually quite like their matchup against the Roosters. It's at CommBank. I particularly like, we'll get to him shortly, but King Gutho with Dylan Walker back, Mike Acevo back.
Kicking.
And goal kicking.
Yep.
We assume goal kicking, with Mitch Moses out. So if I own Clint Gutho, I wouldn't be selling him this week. The Storm against the Dragons, take your pick there. And then the other one that I really like, the Warriors right edge up against Manly's bad left edge. The other one that I really like, and I had him in my super pods initially, but Isaiah Papali'i at 532Ks, 4.2% ownership. He's very cheap there. He's going to be running at Isaiah Katoa, who Drew Hutchinson had a field day with last week. I think IPAP has one of the best matchups of the week if you're looking for a 1 week play. Who would be solid enough for the run home as well?
I own him, so yeah.
Great
play
play.
this week.
Great. And so look, you don't have to go out of your way to buy him, but if you do own him, play him.
Yeah.
I think he's a bit of beef coming his way. Now,
Can't
guys.
get them all, Clem.
Now,
I've got 4 trades. You watch
only
me.
do as you want.
Yeah.
Guys, as you know, Paddy and George from Mortgage Choice SCW can help with a number of things from wedding, finance to debt consolidations, but one of their biggest services is education, especially when it comes to first home buyers looking to get into the market. The boys have let me know that with the new financial year coming into play, that the government has released a heap of new incentives to make it so much easier for first home buyers to actually buy into their first place. So if you want to know more about these and how much you can borrow in general, go and speak to the boys. Usually it'd sting you $129, but if you mention SC Playbook, it's completely free of charge. If you're sitting there right now, you're thinking about one day getting into the market, you've got no idea what that entails, take the step, make it a reality, flick the boys a message on Instagram at patandgeorge_SCW or call them on 02 9521 1611, no matter where in Australia you are. Also, the boys' new podcast, That'll Teach Ya, is now officially up and running. Had a listen to it on the way here today to the podcast, talking about all things superannuation. It sounds very dry. It's outstanding. It's basically around the stuff that you should have been taught at school that you weren't, that has a major impact on your life. I just sat there and went, okay, I can save money here, merge these superannuations. I said, sounds a bit dry, is a wonderful listen, short, sharp, could save you a bunch. Look them up on Apple and Spotify and all streaming platforms, TikTok and Instagram, That'll Teach Ya. Now, hot topics, overall and head-to-head, we can have a bit of a different approach to these guys. First one, number one, most traded inspo, Tino Malawi, 811K. I think he is a good trade-in. I don't know if this is the week against Penrith with a bunch of players out, particularly for those looking to win a head-to-head preliminary final. He's not going to do wrong by you because he'll play big minutes fresh off that. He's one back from his 3-week suspension. But just against Penrith, I think he's more of a... I think he's a fine overall buy, but I think even head-to-head, I'd save it for my grand final probably. I think it's better upside people this week than Tino.
I'm the same. I think I'd wait on Tino a week. If you can in head-to-head, because, like you said, it's versus Penrith. I reckon he knocks out somewhere around the 65 mark and just does it the way he does it. He probably won't score. He may not offload a heap.
Yeah.
Maybe he doesn't tackle bust a heap.
If they get towed up, does he get an early spell maybe?
Early spell, a lot of time behind the sticks if they're getting flogged. So it'd worry me a little bit. I agree there's got to be some better options.
And I'm with you, could get his 60 and that is fine. However, if you're in a head-to-head matchup, there could be someone else like maybe it is an Isaiah Papali'i with bigger upside this week that I think could be the play. Clem, number 2 this week, Nick Meaney, 549K against the Dragons. Gets the Dragons in Sydney. Might even be Wollongong, might be at Wynn Stadium, this one, I think. Meaney turned up last week. Definitely a head-to-head play as the number 2 most traded in because people are looking at matchup, goal-kicking fullback. Overall, definitely not, because Pappenhausen could be back as soon as next week. But as a 1 week play, it looks all right, Nick Meaney.
I'm all for it. Like, if you're a head-to-head player, definitely I think you could bring him in. Like, he's so cheap. Like, what did he get? 120 points last week. If you were overall, though, like, and there's a couple of easier games coming up, but if you were overall, I would probably not, just because of Lil Pappy coming back, because he's going to get reduced minutes and likely. And, but head-to-head, oh, my God, go for it.
Yeah, great head-to-head.
I hope that, like, people who had him played him last week. Like, imagine not playing him.
Yeah, thinking the Raiders had put it to him, please. Clem, another one for you on one of your Warriors boys. Aden Fanua-Blake is at about 700k. Now, people are obviously looking around this front row. We'll throw two in here because the fifth most traded in is Tohu Harris at 600k off 2 terrific weeks where he scored 2 tries. Payne Haas is on the bye. Payne Haas is the most traded out player. Overall, you'd be sitting there going, just hold him for the final couple of weeks. No panic trade there. People looking at their prelim finals. Fanua-Blake, Tohu Harris, what do you take on those two, third and fifth most traded in?
Oh my God, AFB. I am such a massive fan of this. Oh my God, when I was watching last week, you should have seen the levels of elation I reached. Like, when he scored that try, like, you probably heard me screaming all the way from Goldie.
You should have seen the levels of elation I did not reach when SJ put him through with 2 minutes to go.
I didn't even, like, regret spy the SJ points. I was just like, yes, AFB. He's so consistent. Like, he averages 77. They have such an easy draw. Oh, my God, do it. Happy days. Get AFB in. The only thing is, obviously, he might get arresting. So just be a bit careful if you're overall. Tohu, he scored twice in the last 2 games. And I, of course, traded him out 2 weeks ago, just before he scored. Oh, my God. But anyway, never mind.
I'd nearly prefer have sold than have owned and not played for those points.
Yes. Oh, my God, definitely. I think he's going to get I don't know, but, like, does he get a bit of a rest? Like, he's a bit of a warhorse, isn't he? Like,
I think both these boys, particularly Tohu, are big round 27 rest risk, as we spoke about. Tohu in particular, as good as he's been, he scored 2 tries with line breaks the last 2 weeks.
Yeah. I wouldn't touch Tohu with a barge pole.
No.
But
I love him.
I would consider AFB.
Yeah, I think AFB is a consideration for sure.
I feel like maybe it's like, is it head-to-head people as well? Like, maybe they've got Payne Haas on the bye.
It's definitely head-to-head.
Yeah, they want to have, like, you know, like a real good guy there. Like, AFB, I reckon, is your man.
If you're overall, I'd just look to pay out for Tino over both of those blokes. I know that's easier said than done because he is an extra jump. If you can make it happen... but yeah, I don't love Tohu as a buy.
Yeah.
Look,
Tohu's tackles are down a little bit. His actual work rate base numbers are down. He's just been lifted up by those tries.
And because the Warriors,
don't like it.
They had 2 games that we thought might have been blowouts the last few weeks.
They were tighter.
So hence he played the bigger minutes.
I'd go AFB out of those 2.
Yeah.
And probably not get Tohu.
Eli Katoa, you mentioned you were keen on him this week. Clem, the 6th most traded in, 511k. Spy, he looked brilliant last week against the Raiders. Played 69 minutes. Every chance to be back to 80 this week against the Dragons. Real sneaky pod.
Huge fan. Yeah, I tried to bring him in last Sunday. But the bloke I would have sold, I think he'd already played. It was sort of, once he got named, I was like, hello, let's get this fella in. So shame that couldn't happen. Minutes are a slight question mark. He got pulled off early. They're winning comfortably, but if they're winning easy again, maybe he comes off the field.
I also think they'll want him as an 80-minute back row come finals time. He's building fitness back off having a month off.
So it wouldn't shock me if he goes 80-80. I really like him. Simple as that. Whether I can fit him in... Personally, I'm not sure, but I think this weekend against St George, he's a great head-to-head buy. Yeah. And number 13 spy that stood out to me, Ronaldo Mulitalo, 476k, scored 110 last week. I played him, thankfully, up against that weak Titans right edge. He scored that try early on and then didn't want to get up. Then he was limping everyone. He just thought he's gone. And you're just like, sweet, 30 points in 5 minutes. Then he's getting taken off. He got through it. Not only did he get through it, but he scored another one, belted out a 110. I was thrilled about it. However, I don't like his matchup against the Cowboys this week off the bye. We know he's got a low score in him. I will probably look to sit him if I can in my CT dub this week. Well, I am looking to sit him. I'm not a big fan of buying him.
There's better buys.
How's like last weekend? Of obviously trying to beat Clementine over here, but I was trying to run down Timo as well. My 4th reserve or my 4th centre in that spot was Connolly. You had Mulatalo. So the way it went, Mulatalo gets hurt early. He scored that try. He was on about 35. He could have easily gone off. He didn't. Banged out 110. Connolly's on 35, gets knocked out, goes off. It's like the swing. This it's so frustrating. But that's Supercoach. Like, it can just go like that so quick.
I just go for
on one
non-concussion prone players, mate. There's no luck involved.
Fair enough, mate.
I must admit, I fluked playing Mulatalo. I wasn't even going to play him, eh? And then, these are like 110 sweet fluke points. Like, literally. I'm not even going to pretend I had some sort of foresight to play him.
Shout out Jesse
Sorry,
Raymond. Raymond was the other one I wanted to play, but I didn't quite make the cut in the CT dub, and he scored about 109. Garrick, who I was never playing, so that didn't upset me. He was 80 or something. So it was a good week for CT dubs across the board, unless you're on Lemuel.
I was just thinking a little bit more about that as I got real frustrated. Connolly was flying, right? Could have easily scored a ton, may or may not have, but say he scores a hundy and Mulatalo goes off when he does his ankle. That's like a 180-point swing between us, just from one. That's mental.
Graham, can you hear tiny violins playing in the background? Because it wasn't just me.
Yeah, I definitely can.
Yeah.
I think he's trying to make me feel bad or something.
No, it's actually
I've almost caught up to him.
More so, it's just crazy how quick things can turn.
crazy.
We talk about it all the time. But
And it's a lot of luck, right?
Like
As well. So, with the, Connolly, that's twice that's happened to you now, eh, with him.
Twice in 3 weeks. The last 2 times I've played him. Anyway, luck's got nothing to do with it unless you beat me.
Number 3, Clint Gutherson, 759k, most sold. We spoke about Payne Haas. Probably a head-to-head move, I think, that one. If you're looking to flip him for the prelim final, so be it. I think overall I'd be looking to hold on to him. Yep. Gutho, 759k. I'd be holding him. I think he has one of the best matchups this weekend. I think he goes big. I think he tons up.
Hold this week, reassess next week on Gutho.
For sure. Reece Walsh, number 6, again, off the back of his magnificent ton last week. Probably a head-to-head play. People with him there who've got the prelim final need a key fullback spot. I think if you got Reece Walsh and you were worried about your prelim final, him to Clint Gutherson could be a good play. Number 8, Brendan Piakura, also on the bye. Unfortunately, played limited minutes off the bench last week. Break-even 61, 476k. When he does return, if he plays limited minutes off the bench again, could be set to lead some cash. So if you want the best value out of Piakura, probably time to trade in the next week or two. Number 9, J'maine Hopgood, 696k, break-even 111. Spy, you mentioned potentially selling him. I can understand it when you're looking forward to overall and you look at the round 27 buy. If you can get someone else in, you get an extra week out of them. Not a bad
Hardly
play.
a must-sell or anything, but just an option.
Hardly a must-sell, but an option. Yeah. The other thing is, with the big break-even, 696k, there's still plenty of value in him. And the last one I wanted to jot down, number 12, Cody Walker, 610k. Look, he hasn't hit the ground running the last month like owners had hoped with that great run. He's really one that I've been really disappointed with, and I thought he was going to be a big, not a pod, I think he might be 50, 60% ownership, but I've been disappointed. Spy, you must be just licking your lips seeing him have a tough month.
It's certainly gone my way, that one. Yeah, he ran the ball really well last week, though. Off that left foot again, looked really like just that direct Cody, so whether that leads to a couple of breakout games over the last 3 games. He does have that bye, though, next week. So Cody's the kind of bloke, if I owned, I'm probably not selling him. But if you've got another little move up your sleeve you want to do with that buy in mind for the grand final for head-to-head players next week, and you want to get ahead of the game, I'm okay with it.
Yep. Guys, we will move on just briefly here on our Superpod plays. Let's jot them down. We've got a few other things we need to get through. My Superpod play, let's say sub 5 to 10% ownership, more for probably overall players. My one lines up really nicely with head-to-head as well. But Jerome Hughes against the Dragons. Any Mitch Moses owners out there. Hughes is at 0.3% ownership overall among top-ranked sides. He's got a 3-round average of 94. Comes up against the Dragons this week, the Titans at Amy Park next week before finishing with a tougher one in the Broncos. Look, you wouldn't look to trade probably one of the big 3 in Cleary, SJ, Nico for him, but if you're looking for that big pod for the run home, there is an option there. Clem, who'd you find?
You and I are in sync because I had Hughes as well.
There you go.
Yeah, so good. I also put an Eli Katoa there and also Gagai. Actually, I started going through the app and there's heaps.
Yeah.
I was just like,
there's some great options.
But yeah, Hughes I definitely had as my top one there.
Spy?
Very good. A real super pod, Lukey Metcalf out at the Warriors there, playing on the left edge outside S. Johnson. This week, it's a little bit hard to predict how Manly are going to go. They're a little bit up and down, but they were pretty good last week. But the following week's against St George and then the Finns, assuming no one gets rested, he could go mad. So I don't mind Metcalf as a little option there.
Guys, the SC Playbook podcast has partnered with BetR this season, producing markets of our own. Last week, Kalen Ponga, 75-plus official NRL fantasy points. He finished on, I think, 55 or 60, went off with 10 to go, and just
shame.
God knows how he didn't get there. Into an Anari Tuala try at $5.50. Tuala did get his try. No good, though. This week, King Gutho, 50-plus official NRL fantasy points into a Micah Sevo try. Back on that left edge. Dylan Brown also back on that left edge. Back to where they were earlier in the season. Gutho also kicking goals, as we said. We suspect no price for that yet. We'll be up shortly. Link to that will be in our YouTube description. Otherwise, across our social channels later in the week. If interested, please use those links as it lets BetR know that we sent you. What's gambling really costing you? For free and confidential support, call 1-800-858-858 or visit gamblinghelponline.org.au. Now, round 25 trades and skippers. You two have both sort of touched on yours. I'm looking at holding fire at this stage. If anyone is going to come in, it will be Dallin Watene-Zelezniak. I don't mind the look of Eli Katoa. I could go Brendan Piakura to him, which I don't mind, but just going to hold fire for the time being. Likely to save my last 3 for the next 2 weeks. If you can find an obvious way to Dallin, I think he's a terrific trade in this week. What about our skippers, Spy? I'll start with you.
Yeah, I will note, I think I'm going to do Hopgood to Dallin this week and then do the Connolly out, Drinky up next week. Look at Clem's noting that down.
I'm just making the notes there.
Rather than doing that real attack mode play where I get Eli Katoa as well. I think it's just a little bit risky with the price risings. In terms of skippers, so I stopped talking there. I don't know what happened. Skipper is Nathan Cleary this week against the Titans. Really like it. Also, the way the weekend's landed, the Saturday Arvo time slot of footy isn't quite the hot matchups this week, just for whatever reason. Personally, I like to have a beer Saturday Arvo after a big week, so a beer into Nathan Cleary skipper sounds pretty good at 5:30 there. VC, that makes it hard. If I do bring Dallin in, which is likely, I'll probably vice captain Dallin.
Yeah. Dallin's a great VC.
I was going to say Manu, but you know what? He's running at the Eels edge, although it's changed now.
Yeah.
That Eels left edge. Sorry. The opposite side to Manu is where they score their points, so I'm not as keen on that. So I think it'll be Dallin into Nathan.
Clem, what are you thinking with your skippers?
Well, I'm going to captain Clary, definitely.
Yeah.
VC, I haven't really thought about it, but I might just, throw it on Charnze just for fun. Just in case.
Why not? If they tear Manly's left edge apart,
Yeah.
Charnze
No, it's
could go
good.
huge.
Yeah.
I like it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I am telling you the truth. I do actually.
I will be unanimous. I think Nathan Cleary's match up with the Titans looks the best one this week comfortably. So.
And you'll find with Nath as well, just sort of cut in, he's highly owned, but he's not like 99% or something like other times in the year.
It's not ridiculous, yeah.
And
if you're running like, say, SJ and Nico.
Yeah, that sort of stuff. And given there are some candidates throughout the round, like Ponga, Latrell, these sorts of guys who you could skipper, you do still get a bit of value at him as skipper, which is good. So same as Ponga last week, even though it's still highly owned. If you're 75%, that's still a quarter of people that don't have it. So
Add in this time of year, there are a bunch of head-to-head focused players who overall are going really well.
Yep.
They might be in strife on their head-to-head, so they have to change the
call.
captaincy. Boom.
Force change.
Your head-to-head win is your overall loss, and that's when we swoop, isn't it, Spy? So yeah, Nathan Cleary for me, and then vice captain. It'll probably have to land on Joey Manu this week against the Eels at CommBank. Now, a few questions to wrap it up for the week. Spy, first one from Edwin. Edwin, ranked 9th overall. Firing. Nervous 3 weeks for Edwin coming up. He says, time to pod captain this week, ? Maybe Harry Grant, worried about Cleary though and can't loop due to a crappy AE. Harry Grant against the Dragons, that is Storm on a tear. Don't hate it.
Yeah, don't hate it. I think I'm just looking at the rankings now. He's about 300 off the lead, so he probably does need something a little bit special over the final weeks.
The next 2 weeks. Keep in mind, though,
Plenty could happen.
round 26 and 7, we just spoke about them with all the things that could happen. Like there could be some big swings.
I do think I'd still be tempted, and I don't want to tell Ninth how to
Yeah.
do it, because whatever you think
Back
you should
your gut,
do
mate,
it. But the
Edwin.
fact you say you're worried about Cleary, maybe you get Cleary and a couple in the top 10 don't have him as skipper. Maybe first doesn't have him and you put 100 on him.
Yeah.
plus the captaincy, and you pull a bit back, then the next 2 weeks, there's a lot of movement that can happen.
I think he can do his damage the following 2 weeks
Yeah, so
and make his gains. I'd be going Cleary.
I'd do Cleary as well.
Question from Stephen Munchell. Torn who to put for last reserve. Corey Horsburgh versus the Dogs. Clem, this is for you. Corey Horsburgh versus the Dogs. Tohu Harris versus Manly. Batman versus the Finns. Who the hell's Batman?
Bateman.
Or Ruben Garrick against the Warriors.
Well, firstly, I think this is a really nice problem to have.
Team's well set up.
It is. So well done to you. Obviously, I'm a massive Warriors fan, so I would probably go Tohu versus Manly, but I do think Bateman versus the decimated Dolphins, that would tempt me so much to play him because he looked good last week.
I'm with you.
So, yeah, I'd maybe go Bateman.
Yeah, I like Bateman versus the Finns and then Ruben Garrick versus the Warriors. I think that's a decent enough matchup too.
Yeah.
I mean, not one of the easy ones, but great problem to have. Question from Spy Matt Mobstar. Boys in a pickle, have Cookie and enough hooker. One trade and 40k in the bank, so can't afford Harry Grant. With the bye next week for the Rabbitohs, what's the best hooking option for the rest of the season? Can't get Harry.
Wade Egan for mine. A little bit of a risk there with he does tend to cop a knock, but the other one is Blake Brayley going really well. So one of those two boys, easy trade.
Yep, like it. JC, Charles Clem, 2 trades left. Preston to Tino, Fanua Blake or Tarpanay?
Oh, okay. I would go AFB myself.
Of course. Why did I ask?
I'm just like such a Warriors fan. But yeah, you could go Tino as well with just the 2 trades left. Like I think Tino is probably, I don't know, he just looks
Tino,
good,
love
doesn't
him.
he? Yeah.
He's so
He
good.
just looks like he loves to score a try.
I'd go Tino for sure as well.
Tino.
Just my advice to anyone getting him this week, just don't expect the world from him this week, but he can do some big damage the following 2 weeks. He might bag a try in this week as well. Who knows?
I'd go AFB if it was this week in a head-to-head you need to win. But yeah, Tino long term.
Question from Anton Possa, and this is one that Clem mentioned earlier in the show, but is Keon Koloamatangi to Eli Katoa sideways Spy?
No, don't mind it.
I'm doing that trade.
I think
just because they got the bye.
Yeah, because
That's
they got
the
the
big
bye.
thing.
Yeah, if you didn't have the bye, it'd absolutely be. I think if you've only got like 2 or 3 bunnies, you're looking a bit sideways territory. But I feel like most people have 4 to 5 bunnies, in which case I think
Pretty good attacking move, I feel, back end of the season.
Speaking of attacking moves, by Rowan Leonard, Marion Seve, potential pod against the weak Dragons edge this week.
Definitely. I was looking at him last week and then I went to check his price and he's about 600k. But he looks good. Melbourne look good, weak edge. Obviously, he doesn't have Supercoach pedigree, so there's always some risk, but I don't hate it.
Lucky last question from Mace. Hey, guys, what do you think of Dylan Brown playing halfback for the rest of the season? A good trade-in or nah? Thanks, guys. Clem, what do you think about Dylan Brown? No Mitchy Moses there, so he will start running the show a little bit more. So it's a decent matchup this week. Now, factoring in that they also have the bye around 27, Mace should be around this. He'd be a savvy super coacher, I'm sure. So let's talk about him as their next 2-week play. What do you think? He's averaging about 80, I think, something ridiculous.
Yeah, I think it's like a good little potty move. Like, cause he's not very hard. He wouldn't be very highly owned. If you're head to head, yeah, I would probably look at doing it. I think it's like one of those ones that could really pay off for you, and you'll be stoked as that you did it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Last one from Ados the Great. Who wins from here and why is it Guru? Keep up the great work, lads. That's a good segue into wrapping up the show because Beers and Breakevens is back tomorrow and I have gone 5 points clear of the Guru last week. 24 rounds into the season, about 26,000 points.
What a battle.
5 points
How
I've
good.
got him by.
What a
So
battle.
big finish coming from me and the Roo. Guys, thank you as always. Spite. Cheers.
Thanks, troops. Just quickly, Seve's a weapon. Just having a look at his stats. Love the play. And good to be on board. Bit of fun tonight. And yeah, cheers.
Clem, thanks for being back on. Hopefully get you before the end of the season. At very least, if we don't, hopefully more of a regular next year.
Yes, thank you so much for having me. It's been so fun.
Cheers, guys. Good luck to everyone in round 25.
Go the Warriors.
Yes.